How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Monitor Comics, the channel where we create comics and manga. If this is your first time checking out the channel, then be sure to check out some of my other videos after you're finished watching this one. We've already covered a ton of cool topics so far, such as lettering your comics, creating one-shots, creating concept art, choosing effects, and much more. In today's video, I thought we would talk about scripting and writing your comics or manga. In my opinion, this is the hardest step of the comic making process because this is really where you need to use 100% of your brain. Drawing is an automatic process that is more therapeutic and muscle memory. Writing, however, is creating an entire universe from nothing. So let's jump right into it. Scripts are commonly associated with film production or live theater. If you think about it, comics and manga are a combination of the two. Authors are like camera directors. We choose which camera angles to present our scenes with, and we try and convey a story using visuals. Authors are also like staging directors because we have to position characters and decide how they interact with each other and their environment. Scripts can be defined as writing down the movement, actions, expressions, and dialogue of characters. I know some artists who prefer to blend the scripting phase with the thumbnail phase because they're more visual learners. While this approach works for some, it does not work for all. Back when I was first starting out, I despised having to write 20 pages on Google Docs before I could even begin drawing. As a result of my laziness, I became an artist who scripted at the same time as storyboarding. What ended up happening was I created a ton of poorly written storyboards with bad pacing and an inconsistent plotline. The bad news was I already drew 45 pages and now realizing that I need to redo it all again if I want the story to make sense. This all could have been avoided if I just never drew in the first place and instead scripted out exactly how my story would play out. Trust me, I know it's boring to tell the same story 3 times, but we aren't here to be entertained. We're here to create entertainment for others. This is why I wanted to make this video, so make sure you stick around until the end so you can understand the true importance of the scripting process. If you Google how to write a script, I'm sure you'll get some advice like this. Center align your work, choose the Courier font, bold your characters' names, and underline your page numbers. Blah 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 blah. While these techniques are definitely good organizational tips for script writing, they're a little excessive in my opinion. I've always been more of a fan of efficiency. I completely encourage shorthanding your script so you don't waste your time worrying about formatting issues. As long as you get the essential elements, then you should be set. Taking a look at one of my scripts right here, I did bold the characters' names and underline the page numbers so it's easier for you to look at. All these formatting tips are good for is making your script easier to read. In your own scripts, it's completely fine to organize your script however makes sense to you. Let's now talk about the essential scripting elements that will make your life a lot easier. The first must-have is your page numbers. This is a no-brainer because you have to be able to tell how long your overall comic's going to be. Some publishers give you page limits, so it's important to estimate how many pages your stories are going to require. The next element is your setting changes. Usually you'll see scripts write these changes as one line right under the page number with either INT, which means interior, or EXT, meaning exterior. These two terms identify whether or not the scene takes place indoors or outdoors. Right after that, you might see the physical description of the area titled, for example, someone's bedroom or school building. The final element on this line is the time of day. It's important to mark changes in settings so you can gauge how long is spent on each scene and whether or not you can incorporate one setting more than another. The third element every script needs is the description. If a character isn't speaking and something is happening on screen, you need to write out the scene similar to how you would write a novel. You would want to be as descriptive as possible so you can really envision how the scene plays out in your head. The last element is going to be your characters and dialogue. Usually you'll see these elements centered in the middle of the page. I like to add a parenthesis with the character's current emotion written next to the character name. That way it's easier for me to identify how the characters are feeling in the current moment, and it also helps me think about how I can draw the scene in the storyboard phase. Like I said before, as long as you have these essential elements in your script, you should have enough information to envision how the drawings will look. If you don't like how one conversation plays out or you want to remove an entire scene completely, it's much easier to fix than having to redraw the pages all over again. I have this system I use called the 10 chapter safety. Basically, I like to have a Google Doc dedicated to chapter outlines for my series. I might write 1 or 2 paragraphs roughly outlining what I want to happen in each chapter. By planning ahead 10 chapters every time, I at least know what's coming so I don't accidentally create a plot hole in the current chapter I'm working on. I would advise you to fully script out the first 3 chapters before drawing, but honestly if your outlines are detailed enough, scripting 1 chapter at a time and then drawing isn't going to kill you. Pre-writing just helps you make sure conversations flow more naturally and story elements aren't lost as you get further along in the story. It usually takes me a couple days to write out a script for my chapters, so don't feel guilty if you need to work slower or take more breaks. Writing can easily make you burn out. It's a hobby that can really be exhausting. Once your script is completed, you can either go back and revise it or begin storyboarding. I usually recommend having a friend or two take a quick look at it because you, the writer, have spent so much time on it that you may not have noticed simple errors. Plus, getting other people's feedback and suggestions is a great way to sample from your potential audience. I hope you got some value out of this video and you feel a little bit more confident about script writing. If you enjoyed this video, please drop the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you follow me on all my social media accounts. I'll link those down below. Drop a comment telling us about your favorite part of the comic making process. As always, keep creating, guys. I'll see you all in the next one.